I know I have the body, but of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too. These are the words that Elizabeth I of England declared in August 1588. People have been discussing and have been debating, especially historians and scholars, did she say these words? For years, historians such as the world-leading expert on Elizabeth I, Professor Carol Levin, and others such as Professor Kevin Sharp before her, or Professor Ilona Bell, have discussed and have showed that it actually is very likely that Elizabeth said those words. We have many witnesses of the speech, of the Tilbury speech. More importantly, we have found something that really proved that Elizabeth might have said those words, word for word. And that comes specifically from my own research through my PhD, when I researched the relationship and the diplomatic dynamic between the Valois kings, Charles IX of France and Henry III of France, with Elizabeth I of England. And what I found is actually astonishing. Because yes, Elizabeth I said those words. I've literally, as a historian and academic who have worked on her for 15 odd years, have no doubt about this. But what I can tell you is that she stole these words from another monarch. So let's discuss the origin of the Tilbury speech. In 1574, Henry III of France became king. It was not an easy path, and he should have probably never ruled. He was the third son of Catherine de' Medici and Henry II of France. He was third in line after Francis II, who died in 1560, and after Charles IX, his brother, who died in 1574. Henry III was a very well-educated Renaissance prince. He was a warrior prince and not a warrior king, and I'm going to get to that. And he was very much so interested in rhetoric. He loved the art of talking, of debating, of arguing. And why is it so relevant? It is so relevant because he's going to use important words in his own speeches. In 1585, there is the start of the 8th religious civil war. And during that time, Elizabeth and Henry III became closer, understanding that the Guises and Mary Stuart were behind all their problems, more or less. The Guises were defying Henry III's authority to the point that in 1588, after the execution of Mary Stuart, where they thought that Henry III was also responsible because he had been too weak and had not been able to prevent the execution of Mary Stuart, they thought he was, in a way, working with Elizabeth. And what's so funny is that actually they're the ones who pushed him into the arms of Elizabeth. There is a secret correspondence between Henry III and Elizabeth I, where she shares her thoughts, and where she shares her advice, and where he listens to her. And he realized how clever she was and how different she was from other monarchs. He even said, "What a woman," in the sense that he was expressing how much admiration he had for her. And in 1588, so after the execution, a year after, longer than that, like 15 months after the execution of Mary Stuart, we're still in the 8th religious civil war in France. But this time, Henry III realized that the Guises and the Catholic League didn't have the Valois dynasty's best interest at heart, and that instead he made an alliance with the Huguenots, Henri de Navarre. It's shocking, isn't it? A Protestant and a Catholic working together because they realized that it's not about religion, but it's about politics and power. In May 1588, they besieged Paris, forcing Henry III to flee to Chartres. What happened there is remarkable. He gave a speech trying to rally people who were loyal to the crown and to the Valois dynasty. And he said these words that then would be printed and spread across France, and would also be printed in England. He said, "I want my people to know that I have the heart and stomach as big as any of my predecessors." This was the rhetoric of a warrior Renaissance prince. This was the rhetoric that kings were expected to say. He wanted here, the heart and stomach, is to show courage, is to show bravery, is to show that they're not scared. As big as any of my predecessors, is to show that he is obviously the son of Henry II, who's a warrior king, the grandson of François I, who's also a warrior Renaissance king. As I said, this speech is printed and spread all over France, is to try to rally everyone who would support the crown against the Guises, and it worked. Well, it worked also because obviously Henry III is going to order the assassination of the Guises, but that's maybe a topic for another video. There were people who took that speech and showed it and printed it in England, and they did so in July 1588, and in August 1588, when Elizabeth herself gave a speech. It's no wonder why she said those words, and why she starts, "I know I have the body but of a weak and feeble woman," because she wants to acknowledge what everyone can see, that she is a woman. But the second part of that sentence, "but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too," is doing two things. Of a king is like of any other king. So here she's really positioning herself as a king, not a queen, as a real equal to any other kings of Europe and beyond. But the fact that she said also, "and of a king of England too," is here a hint to talk about her predecessors, to talk about her legitimacy, to talk about the fact that she is the daughter of Henry VIII and the granddaughter of Henry VII. She's a Tudor. She's the rightful queen, monarch, king of England. But no one talks about this amazing parallel. And that really goes to show you how this speech actually happened. What's so striking here is obviously she was inspired by the words that he had said 3 months before her. She was inspired by Henry III's own rhetoric, because she knew that positioning yourself, portraying yourself as a warrior monarch was the rightful thing to do, especially when you're at war. And she was at war with Spain. The fact that he said those words before, and that we have these witnesses that said she said that at Tilbury, prove to us that the Tilbury speech happened. Let me know in the comments if you were aware about this incredible parallel between Henry III and Elizabeth I. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.